thing I can't do because I tell him the cauliflower ear.
The
I can't do that.
cauliflower ear. I do not want any of my children to have that.
No.
He just wear a helmet. It doesn't happen.
No.
Doesn't happen.
No, it stinks.
Yeah, they're
no,
gonna have to wear
thanks.
earmuffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you just wear the little, the helmet
headphones.
muffs, and
Alex,
you're good.
no.
Right?
Yeah, well, this isn't like a vote on if it's gonna yes or no. Yeah, no.
You're the boss, Alex.
Yeah, no,
Go ahead, man.
no.
like
Alex
it is,
is the
bro.
creative editing boss when we talk about stuff. I heard Grandma's from last week was everyone was dying.
Oh, really?
Grandma
seen
said
it
she
yet.
was gonna get on the table.
What?
My grandma's crazy.
Oh, your grandma?
That's mom.
It's Graham she's the
she
best.
still serves in the church, and she's
wrestling on tables.
She's,
yeah.
she's crazy. Was that air yesterday?
Yes, we got a lot of
I
the
didn't
women
see-
were talking about.
Oh.
Oh yeah,
Oh, there we go.
what'd you say, Andy?
Oh, look, it's
It was
already.
easy to clip. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's easy stuff right there. Adam and Ashley are boring. I got some good stuff.
I need wrestling grandmas on tables.
Yes,
That's what you
literally.
need.
Coyote.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, gosh.
Yeah, dang, you guys already got a lot of listeners on that joint. Hadn't even been 24 hours.
They like that one.
They like
Yeah.
Grammy. Grammy is funny. She says some crazy stuff.
And that's your grandma.
Oh yeah,
My grandma.
yeah. Oh,
my
yeah.
dad's mom.
Oh yeah, if you listen
Yep.
to it, you'll totally be like, yeah, that makes sense. They are very much related.
Yeah, even seeing another side of your pops yesterday at dinner was pretty tough. Like,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
joking around. And
Yeah,
stuff,
he's
like, you know.
he's he can. Those are his boys. So when he's around his friends, he can loosen up. Normally he's pretty. I wouldn't say stoic, but he is a very quiet person. Yeah.
Okay.
But when he's around some of his friends, he opens up. I guess like many guys, right?
Yeah.
They when they're around particularly fellas that they're comfortable with, they can.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, man, great to see that. That was a great episode yesterday. What are you so excited about?
We have our friends on here.
Oh, yes.
Let's go.
So why don't you introduce them, Ashley?
Okay, we have our amazing friends Fuego and Tiffany with us
go.
Yes.
today.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
Fuego, you gotta talk in there,
Oh,
bro.
my
We
bad.
we can't wait to hear. So
I'm
we
Puerto
have
Rican. I'm
them.
pretty loud, you know what I'm saying?
They are
Yeah.
from up north,
Yeah.
and they have come
Alameda.
down. Alameda,
Right
yes.
outside of Oakland.
Yes. Yeah, right. Thank goodness.
Just a little on the safe side.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, a little on the safe side. So they have joined us today, babe, for
Yes.
our Beyond I Do.
Yes.
Go.
Yeah, they're amazing. I've now known Fuego now for, probably 2 years?
Yeah.
It's when you and I first met. The first time was just short introductions
Yeah.
at one of my heroes, Adam Smallcomb's church at
Yeah.
5, who's been on, not Beyond I Do, but he's been on Beyond the Letter podcast. And you and I met there, and
Yep.
we see each other through other mutually. You and your incredible wife are a church plant of our friends ARC,
Yeah.
the Association of Related Churches.
Yeah, 978.
And 978.
Yes, our prison number.
Prison number.
Yes.
Your ARC
Yes.
church plant 978.
That's a dope number, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, 978.
Is that
Yeah,
like a
that's
birthday number?
No, it's just a dope number. Like
Yeah.
you're the 978. That's dope. Like
Yeah.
you're not like 222.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
like you're
Yeah.
the dope number.
Yeah, and I think ARC now is up to maybe 1,300 church plants, 1,200.
Oh,
church plants.
wow.
Yeah. There's a
Their
lot.
goal, I forget. We're going to be having Dino at our church sometime
really?
here soon, but we're working on it on each other's calendars. But Pastor Dino is the president of ARC churches, and it's their whole goal to plant churches in cities to see more people be win for Christ. And so you guys are an ARC church plant. So
Yeah.
we know each other through ARC now, and we've known each other through our churches are doing Baptized California coming
That's
up in
right.
May.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I was
you and I
popping
saw
up
each other.
everywhere. Yeah.
You and I saw each other on the Zoom. The reality is the church world really is small.
It is.
And so once you meet someone once,
Yeah.
guaranteed within the year, you're going to see that person 2 or 3
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
times.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And I go to everything that my friend Adam Smallcomb has, which they're only, 25 minutes away from you guys, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So,
And I mean, you guys are crushing it, bro. Like,
Oh, thank you, man.
I love Patriot now,
Thank
right?
you.
Patriot.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yes.
saying,
You brother.
I didn't know, man. I
Yeah.
didn't know. Like I said, you guys are growing your own fruit and stuff out here. I was tripping.
But yeah, I saw the
I was
cherries.
like,
I was like, we should get some
yeah.
cherries
I
back.
felt-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like I was on the set of Zorro for a minute. Like you got your own little, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
amazing. I loved it, bro.
Yeah.
The fruit, the animals.
Yeah, for
I was
those
like,
don't know, at our Rancho campus, not all of our campuses, but our Rancho campus, we're known as what's called an ecologically contained site, which means we was doing this before Kanye even dreamed about it.
Come
Because I don't
on.
know if you remember back in the day, Kanye. Kanye was like, you know, we need to have
land.
churches and cities and lands where we grow everything
Yes.
and we
Yeah.
have everything, and it's called ecologically contained.
Yeah.
And we've had that now for 7 years.
So Kanye came
Yes.
here then.
No,
First
he
time.
must
Yeah,
have.
probably
Yeah,
got
I saw it.
inspiration
No,
He's
no,
there.
stepping up.
he'd maybe still be following Jesus if he came here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
real.
but like you guys said, we grow our own fruits.
That
We
is
have our
dope.
own almonds and across 40 acres. We
That's
could
amazing.
basically contain a few thousand, you know, maybe 1,000 or 500 people for 6 months if we needed to.
Wow.
You know,
That's what's up.
if zombies came tomorrow, we could shut it
Yeah,
down and
we
we
know
could
where
we
we
could
running,
eat from
bro.
the
That's
land.
all I'm
saying. Yeah, we running here.
Alameda ain't got no farm like that.
Yeah, we have goats and chickens here, and so we have our own eggs and we have our own goat's milk and everything. And that was ultimately from my dad's story, which is very important, but how he
Yeah.
had stage 4 cancer. And so my dad's holistic. My dad is completely holistic in his lifestyle. So he doesn't have anything, he doesn't eat anything that doesn't come from the ground, basically, or can't, or at least be caught in the wild as well.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's what this campus looks like. But it always it's
great.
unique for when people come visit, because most of us, including myself, has never been somewhere where it like the ecology is totally contained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and they grow everything here, which is what we do, which is pretty crazy. But you and I met 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Introduced. I was like, man, I like that guy. Then we saw each other again. I'm like, man, I like Fuego. He's dope. And then this last time we were over at
FlowCon.
my friend Vance's
Yep.
FlowCon, Vance Rouse, shout out to Overflow.
Yeah.
And so we were at Vance's conference, Overflow. And then I got to meet your wife finally.
Yeah, my boo thing.
And
Yes, yes.
yeah.
That's why you
real.
recognized us.
Let's
I
go.
came on the scene.
Yes, yes.
And finally, actually,
Yeah.
you know, I met, you know, me and Fuego have talked half a dozen times.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I met you. And I'm trying, you said, because it wasn't really long ago, it was maybe 3 months ago, 2 months ago. But you said something like, it was something about you, about like, oh man, just not a lot of community for women in ministry.
Yes.
It was something along
Yes,
that
yes,
lines.
yeah.
Yeah.
And immediately my heart went out because, you know, 9 years ago, for the first 5 years of my wife being in full-time ministry, she felt that same exact way. She would, you know, we would go from conference to conference and we'd visit church after church. And it's just really hard for my wife to find anyone that seemed human in the
Yes.
church world.
Yes.
You know,
Not
as a
weird.
pastor, you know,
like
yeah,
mad
yeah,
weird. They just
Yes.
acting
Or like
super.
super
Yeah.
Over spiritual.
Not in a bad way, but like
yeah.
I can't get to know you.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
nerd.
Or Ashley would meet their wife and they would be like, oh, that's my husband's thing. And it's just like no support for their husband
No,
really.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
Ashley was like, I don't really understand that. Like I love doing ministry with my husband. And so she would talk to some
good.
wives and Ashley would be like, oh, how do you handle ministry? Oh, I don't, that's my
That's
husband.
what he
That's my
does.
husband. You know,
That's what he
like,
I was like,
that's
all
stupid.
right.
Yeah, almost as if they're not Christian. Like, oh, that's stupid. That's just my husband's thing, being in church. You know,
Yeah.
like, you're like, oh, okay.
I was like, all
So-
right, guess the conversation's over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Serious.
Yeah.
So the first person that like really for Ashley, like outside of, you know, we have great relationships inside our church, but the first great outside relationship that opened up for her was actually Pastor Kieran, which is Adam Smallcomb's wife. That was the first
Yeah.
person Ashley was like, oh my gosh, there's,
God.
This is normal
yeah.
Finally.
pastor's
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah.
Loves God,
Loves
but can
God,
joke.
joke,
and, you
love
know,
her husband.
Yeah. And
Build
so,
community.
Yeah.
Yeah, lead.
so when you said that, I was just, I don't know if you guys remember, I was like, you have to meet my
My
wife.
wife, yes.
You guys got to come down because she gets it, I get it. You guys got to come down. So last week you guys came
Yes.
and hung out with us for a
Yeah.
day because your church plant is, you're 3 years into a church plant.
Yeah.
Almost.
Almost
Got-
three.
almost 3
Yep.
years.
September, yeah.
The
Yeah.
Lord's been moving in your guys' church
Yeah.
in incredible ways. You recently got your own space, which used to be a boys and girls club, which we'll get to that because
Yeah.
I want you to talk about that
Yeah.
for a moment. Just giving
Yeah.
a nice warm introduction so everybody knows where you guys are at, where you're coming from. And so you guys are doing a church, Encore Church
Yeah.
in Alameda, city of Alameda. And so you guys came last week to hang out with our staff
Yeah.
Yeah.
and our team. Really it was to hang out with me and Ashley, but I got appendicitis.
I know.
So I went into surgery.
I was like, no excuses, bro.
No
Like,
excuses. We
suck it
expect
up,
you to
bro.
be
Like,
here.
nah,
No.
Hey,
I'm
if you
just
don't
kidding.
want to see me, just tell me.
Like, for real. Like, it's good. You know what I mean?
Stop making stuff up.
Like, I won't come. I won't come. Fine.
My wife joked she had a family wedding that weekend, and she goes, "You didn't want to go to my family's wedding so bad,
So bad.
you prayed for surgery."
Let's go.
I was like, So I had an emergency appendicitis. So basically, Ashley had to really fill in for me and just and really host you guys. And then Pastor Aaron and Erica hosted you guys. And I think at the end of the day, it worked out for the Lord because you got to grow in relationships even with Aaron and Erica. But while you guys were here last week, my dad invited you back for the following week because we did a leadership day yesterday with our mentor Gerald Brooks, and then so then we were like, if you guys come back, we got to now do a podcast because your guys' story. Which I know pieces. Ashley knew the whole thing because you guys were having dinner.
Had been crying at dinner.
That's dope.
What was so funny is Ashley comes home and she's just like, "You didn't tell me they blank." I said, "Babe,
I don't even know.
I don't. Like when I see Fuego, it's just catching up really briefly, and it's through social media.
Yeah.
So I said, the Lord kind of just put a burden for me to grow closer with you guys. But I was like, Ashley, I don't know any of their story. And so then she started telling me, and I was like, oh my gosh,
and I just gave the cliff notes.
I was like, that story's incredible.
Their book comes out in 2 years. We're writing it.
Since then, we ran into 3 people who have been telling us, you need to do a podcast or do a book.
For
I'm
sure.
Okay, everybody keeps saying stuff like that. My barber, he just recently, I was like, bro, you been cutting my hair for a while. He's like, bro, when's the book coming out? I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. And so, I'm sure people after Beyond I Do will probably be saying the same thing. And so for those, I'll say it now before we get to tell in those that want to keep up with Fuego and Tiffany, we'll in the comments, we'll put all their church's IG and their stuff so you guys can stay connected because I guarantee you someone will watch this and hopefully within the next 30 days you're going to have someone pop up in Encore who's part of this podcast family. So that'll be awesome. But okay, let's start. Ashley, you know their story, so you tell them where to start. Cause
okay,
she's my nosy buddy. I like that you asked all these questions.
I did. Yeah. Okay, how do I want to go about this? Okay, I want
in Spanish chisme.
Yes, very.
Tiffany's like that.
I am like that too, though. That's why I was like, tell me everything.
I did. I was like, if this is too much, but I need you to tell me. I don't care if it's too much. No, I want you guys. I would love for the viewers and listeners. I want them. Can you share how you guys met? But first share your story and then share your perspective of it. Because they kind of bleed them together how you did the other day.
Yeah. So I'm full-blooded Puerto Rican, born in Manhattan, raised in the Bronx.
Gabriel
came out to.
I asked them if he was related during that day. That's him.
You know
He's the Puerto Rican.
You know any Guzmans?
Nah, probably, man. We probably related some way, shape, or form. You know, us Puerto Ricans.
Yes.
When I was in Puerto Rico,
here,
man, they were like, "Yo, be careful who you date. It might be a cousin." So listen,
he did tell us that. He said he thought this one girl was really pretty.
Yeah, it was his cousin. Yeah, it was bad.
I was like, all right, never mind. So unfollow real quick. Never mind, she ain't that cute, right? So I was born in New York, and then we came out to Cali. I got 2 beautiful Puerto Rican parents, man. Love them to death. I got 2 older brothers. And my mom, she actually did witchcraft. My mom, she practiced brujeria, santeria, Ave Maria, whatever you want to call it. And my dad was a practicing alcoholic. And so me and my brothers, we kind of just grew up in this household that was just really control chaos. Like my parents would probably be thinking, oh, it was pretty good. We were really wilding out and we weren't on the Nick Cannon show. But they were actually, for us, we were just thinking like, okay, we just started doing whatever. You know, I was named after an uncle of mine who actually was murdered. He was chopped up and delivered in a box to my mom and my grandmother, and my mom identified him by his feet. And so I grew up. That was like they named me after him.
Which is why you prefer to go by Fuego now.
Yep,
and not
exactly.
Really
and not
named
Hector,
by that history of
And then also they gave me like names of uncles of mine that actually didn't have sons, but they had daughters. And so like they just actually did some like profane things with their kids and stuff like that, daughters and stuff. So I really didn't want to be associated with things like that. And so when we moved to Cali, we were not believers. And then I got heavily involved in like drugs, and we would sell whatever, whether it was guns, drugs, whatever. If you had a kid you didn't like, we'll see if we could get them off, right? Whatever it was. And then I would say my mom and dad got saved, like really saved, when I was about 20 years old.
Wow.
And they started putting scriptures on my pillow. They opened up the Bible. Yeah. They left the book of Job open. And I was like, Pops, come on. I got a job already. I'm making more money than you. like you're tripping, right? Like I don't get it. I'm making more money than you, Pop. You should really, if you want to really step your game up, you should hustle with me, type of deal. And then my mom and my dad, they would just put scriptures on my pillowcase, and they would, I would come home high and drunk, and I just would see the scriptures, I rap, throw them on the ground, just go to sleep. Well, one day I was actually set up to be killed and murdered in Antioch, which is ironic because that's when believers was actually called Christians, right? And I was in Antioch, so I pull up. It was supposed to be an easy drop. I didn't have no weapons or nothing on me. It was supposed to be like that casual of a drop. Even though I had a lot of money on me, I pull up, and when I pull up, these guys draw down on me, get me out the car, have me on the ground, gun to my face, and I'm thinking to myself the whole time, I'm cursing a God that I didn't even believe in. This is my mom and dad's God. So in my mind, I'm like, Jesus, why would you do this to me, right? And while I'm thinking that, all I see is like God just hitting the pause button. That's how I'm like, because all I could hear was, there's a path that looks right to a man, but it leads to death, which is one of the scriptures my mom and my dad would put on my pillowcase all the time.
Wow.
And I was like, Jesus. And when I said Jesus, the dude holding the gun said, don't say that name. And I'm like, yo, you heard that? And so I said the name of Jesus again. When I said the name of Jesus, he said, I told you don't say that name, but it lightened up. And the demeanor on his face changed. It was like the Holy Spirit apprehended his heart. And it was like he had to obey that name. Like, I don't know if grandma took him to church or mom took him. Something apprehended his heart that night. And then he puts the gun under his waist, and they grabbed me, and they stole everything from me. They throw me into this car, and they got the gun still up to my car and whatnot, making sure that when I'm driving off, I'm not trying to do something dumb. But the whole time I'm thinking to myself, like, what just happened? Like, what just happened? I said the name of Jesus. Homie said, don't say that name. And now the money wasn't mine. I was this middleman. I wasn't some big time drug dealer or whatever. I was just a middleman. And here I am, like, I was supposed to bring back money for this person, and I don't have nothing or the drugs. Now I'm really finna get killed. And so my phone's blowing up and got voice messages like, hey, man, where you at? I went to your job. I went to your house. I went to your kid's daycare. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, yo, I was like, okay, I know right now I don't have that courage to go back because I know what I lost. So I said, I don't want my family to get hurt. This is my doing. I pull up. Finally, they get me out the car. And so, I mean, with more colorful words, they pull me out the car and sit me down. And when they're sitting down, we're across from a table like this. And I tell them the whole story I was just telling you. And when I told him everything that Jesus had did or whatnot, he was like, you know what, Fuego, for some reason, I believe you. He was like, hey, you know what? You don't owe me nothing, but don't ever let me catch you hustling in these streets ever again. And I thought he was lying, if I could be frank. I thought he was lying. So I push away from the table, and I'm walking towards the door, and I'm thinking, like, I'm going to get shot in the back. And I'm like, okay, this is it, And then, when you're doing dirt, you start thinking about, oh, my son and all, what I mean? Because I had a 2-year-old at the time. And I'm walking towards the door. I'm like, man, this is it. I open the door, make my way to the car. And it was like the overwhelming presence of God's holiness. Is what I encountered. It was like I showed up to a party and I'm wearing, shorts and a T-shirt, and everybody got suits on. You obviously are wearing the wrong thing. And I knew I wasn't clothed in the blood of his son, right? I wasn't clothed in righteousness. And so I just knew. And then all I could hear is just like, Jesus, his name is the one that saved me. And he was the one that paid my debt. And so I just, tears running down my face, man. I repented, turned to God. Right there was no altar call, no pastors, no nothing. It was just right there in my car. And listen, everything wasn't all buttery then. It wasn't. It was like, listen, I had a felony. I had things I had to work off. But God was with me the whole entire time. And I just left and abandoned everything. Like all those things of like alcohol, weed, drugs, all that stuff, like just got eradicated out of my life. Like I wasn't even struggling with that. The only struggle I dealt with was just like loneliness, and I felt like an anomaly. I was just like, yo, like, what do we do? Like, people bumping Hill songs, and it's like, I can't pull up to my partners or on the block or anywhere. and take me deeper with my feet. They're going to be like, this dude's a sucker, right? Like, yo, Jesus died for you? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't want any of that.
Soft as all get out, right? And so that's what I started going through, like these, going to do like community service, ended up at my mom's church. And when I was at my mom's church, I was painting and doing things like that. And I met a man named Charles. And
this is in Antioch or?
No, this is now in Oakland.
Okay.
So that's where I was staying. I just went there to go make a drop. I was supposed to come back. And so now I'm living, I was serving a church in Oakland. And when I was in Oakland, I met a man named Charles who was there, and he took me under his wing, and he really started to open up the scriptures scriptures and talk to me about the scriptures. And then as I started falling in love more and more with God, like they put me in front of youth to preach at a youth camp. And I'm like, bro, I might cuss or something. Like, you should, like, this is too soon. And they're like, nah. And then, you know, when I spoke, my nephews ended up giving their hearts to the Lord because they came today. Wow. I invited them to the camp, and they ended up giving their lives to the Lord. And it was just like my journey just began, just started, you know, from there. But that gentleman, Charles, like he really was a blessing in my life, because I remember right before my eyes, like he kept getting thinner and thinner. I thought he was on some type of diet plan or something. And nah, he actually had cancer. Wow. And when he had cancer, he was just opening up the Word of God. He was so excited about the things of God, but he never told me. Then one day he ended up in the hospital. And I was like, what? Like, hey, why is he in the hospital? They're like, oh, he has cancer. And like, he's about to die. That's why even tears come to my eyes now, because, man, he was in that hospital bed. And when he was in that hospital bed, man, people were surrounding him. And his eyes were closed. He was not responding. And then he just opens his eyes. I feel like this is a gift from God to me. He opened his eyes, bro, and he was like, it's even more beautiful than I could imagine. And then he dies and goes home to see the Lord. Bro, I'm telling you, like, I was frustrated, but at the same time, I was blessed, bro. I was like, man, God, like, I can't even say why, because he's been telling me about this race that we got to run. And my brother finished it. You know what I'm saying? So when I heard that, I was like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So those things, like, it just fueled my tank.
How long was Charles in your life for?
Man, Charles was in my life, I would say, for like 6-7 years.
Oh, wow.
Like, just walking with me.
Wow.
Yeah, like, he was like, listen, I know that the church is X, Y, and Z, but God is not like he kept pulling me back. Because, because then, like, Christian hip-hop wasn't, like, really big. It was kind of shunned, right? It was like, it don't belong in the church. What years were that been? I would say like 2000 to like 2011 or something like that. Something like that.
From like 07 to 010,
something
it was
like
just
that.
Like, rap is an outsider's.
Something like that. So
thing.
And that's what it was for me. So like they were like, oh, you can't rap and do all that stuff, and I felt like I continued to keep writing raps that would help me to remember scripture, but I would never show it, because I was like, yo, they might shun this. And then one day my raps fell out of my Bible that I had, and the pastor was like, hey man, what's this? And I was like, oh, it's just some notes. Straight up lying. And he was like, man, this actually sounds pretty good, man. Like, it sounds like it's rhyming and stuff. He already knew. And I was like, yeah, it's a rap. And he was like, man, you should say this one day. And I was like, nah. But then that's when I fell upon, you know, Acts chapter 10, Peter on the roof. You know, don't you call unclean what I've called clean? And then for the first time, you know, he steps into a Gentile home, right? The Holy Spirit falls and fills him. And I was like, man, Lord, like, you could actually use this to go into that genre and spread the good news.
Wow.
That's so good. That's so good. And then you said that you had 2 kids.
Yeah.
So were you previously married?
I was, when I first gave my heart to the Lord, like, I felt like my ex was probably cool with me being different, but not cool with Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is cool, kind of going along with it, but
because she grew up in the lifestyle with you.
They're high school sweethearts.
Okay.
So like that, grew up in the lifestyle as well, and she wasn't like fully immersed in all of that. You know, because when we had a son, like I wasn't the great. I was a man. You know, like Rihanna, she said work. Well, I was a jerk. Like, straight up, like, I was not a good dude. Like, I really wasn't, man. Like, I really wasn't. I was like not living the life that any person that would call themselves a husband should live. You know, so and so those are the things that she was going through, right? But then all of a sudden, Jesus rocks my life, and now all I want to do is be at church, because there's nobody. So it was just a complete paradigm switch, right? And so so then she ended up leaving the marriage with. She left, and when she left, like, I was heartbroken. I was like, oh man, like, man, God, all right, listen, I know she probably just gonna go wild out like I was. I get it. And I continued to just be faithful to God. And I said, listen, I'm going to raise my sons. I got 2 sons. I said, let me raise them. I ended up getting full custody of them. I moved out of the place where we were actually at our in-laws' house at the time with her. So it was just a little rough, like, having everybody around him. And then we're not together. So I was like, sheesh, what do I do, Lord? And he just provided a 1-bedroom apartment. We had no furniture. We just had a bunk bed. One night, I was the blanket for one of my youngest son. You know what I mean? So we would put some, like, a jacket over him so that he'll be able to like, you know, stay warm or whatnot. And that's what we did. Ironed his clothes on the it was like a heater that stood up on the wall. I put his clothes on there, the heater, and with my hand, like that's what we did. And I taught them the word of God, man. And I just raised these young boys to become men. And now one of them is 20 and the other one is 16. And so, I mean, that's...
And you don't have any family here.
Yeah, I don't.
They're in New York, in Puerto Rico, and in
Florida. Yeah, Florida.
So he's the only one out here.
Yeah, so I was like solo. And I felt like now I kind of understand it, like God was prepping me for where he was taking me. Because that's kind of how it ended up, even with church planting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
We were like just by ourselves. Yeah. Like we didn't really know nobody. We had to show ourselves to be friendly so we could be treated like friends. You know what I'm saying? So all that stuff. Yep.
Yeah, and then Tiffany. Your story as far as like finding church, because you explained how you found church, and it is one.
Let's go. I hope they speak Hebrew.
Yes. So then, because that's his story, right? So 3 years of him waiting. So while that was happening, I didn't know him, but
because you were single for 3 years.
He was single for 3 years. He was trying to be, waiting on her. So for me, I didn't grow up in church. So I didn't grow up with a Christian background. And I think just a little backstory of my life prior to meeting Christ is that we grew up not with we got what we needed, not what we wanted, and it was, we didn't have a lot. So my mom was never at home. My parents had never split. So my parents never married. My grandparents never married. Marriage is not sacred, not important. Right. Everyone just wild and not have kids all over the place, right? Yeah. And so I have like...
What's your ethnic background?
I'm Vietnamese.
Okay.
Yeah,
so within a Vietnamese culture, is that not or is it just maybe your family culture was that way?
Maybe it's my family culture.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe it's my family culture.
She's Vietnamese now, but she could.
Yes. So no one, marriage was not sacred, number one, and I never saw, we're a blended family. I have 2 older brothers, 2 younger brothers. I'm the middle and the only girl. 2 of my brothers are half brothers from different parents, and so us growing up, that was normal to us, right? And then my parents were never home, so my dad was doing his thing, my mom was doing her own thing, so we basically raised up ourselves. But because they were not in the home, and we lived in the projects in East San Jose, right? When we're there, no one was home, so there would be men that my mom would date, or other guys would come into the home, the house unlocked, and was sexually taken advantage of at the age of 6 to 12, right? 12 is kind of when I saw my period, so it kind of stopped there. But from that 6 years, I already felt growing up like, okay, my purpose is my body is meant for men's pleasurement. And that's just what I believed, because then I grew, quiet. I became very reserved, and I was very cautious ever since that happened. And I remember when I was young, my mom, like I never said, because people were, how come you didn't say anything? I'm like, you don't know until you're in it. And for me at that moment, those guys would say like, don't say anything, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill your parents. If you say, and you're a little kid, so you believe everything. So I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. But that's the start of me feeling like I don't really have value or purpose or worthy. And then my mom, I saw her, she came from America. So I grew up bitter, but of course now that I'm older,
from Vietnam.
Yeah, so she grew up in Vietnam, came to America on a boat during the Vietnam War.
Wow.
Right, so coming through that whole tragedy.
So no matter how bad America is, it's not that.
It's not that. Yeah. So I felt like my mom went through worse. So what I go through, I have a home. That is like luxury, right? And so her coming there, now I see like she loved me and took care of us the best that she knew how, not knowing English, not having much. So I said, okay. So now growing up, that led me to being very promiscuous, right? So boys were in my life. I'm like, you know what? Before you take advantage of me, I'm going to take advantage of you, right? And so I'm going to get what I want then. If you're going to use me, I'm going to get what I want. And so I grew up that way. I went to school. I did in my mind is like, you know what? I'm going to be a doctor. I mean, every Asian, like engineer, doctor, lawyer, whatever, right? I'm like, So everyone want to be, I'm going to be a doctor, right? And so I'm in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Educationally, let me just try to focus on this thing. But then during my teenage years, a lot of things were happening. Both of my older brothers are schizophrenic, have mental health issues, right? And so it got me scared. I'm like, is this genetic? Is this her? Is this going to happen to me? So during that time was happening, my younger brother was in the streets selling drugs, all this stuff. And then my mom, she just chose other men before her children at that moment of her vulnerable season. And when that happened, I was like, you know what? I became a homeless teenager. So at the age of 16, I was in my beginning of junior year. I had a decision. Either I stay with my dad. So my brother stayed with my father, with my dad. And then I was like, I'm not staying over there because the men that took advantage of me were family and also in the streets. And so I was like, I'm okay. I just lied. I was like, I'll be with my friends. I'm gonna be okay. And so what I decided to do is next to where I live is an elementary school that I went to, and there's like a big shed there, and it's like abandoned. And so that's where I lived. Wow. So I chose to go there, and I didn't say anything again because in my mind, I'm already like, if you say something, you're gonna get in trouble, other people. And at that moment, I didn't want CPS. I didn't want anything to happen. So I just sucked it up, dropped out of school, picked up 3 jobs. So I picked up 3 jobs, random jobs, got a bicycle eventually, got myself around. And at that time, I was just like, this sucks. Like, even though I had the idea of God, but I didn't know him for myself, right? Because in the movies and people and things, so I'm like, okay, there has to be something's better. More than this. Yeah, there has to be. But I remember thinking, like, there has to be more than this, right? And meet a guy. So I get into sales. So I was selling like vitamins, nutrition, and I get into sales. I meet a guy. He's older, and that in my mind, I'm like, this is my way out. Wow. Like I can't do this on my own. I'm like a teenager trying to figure it out. So I get with this guy. It ended up being a 5-year relationship, and in that relationship, I already knew like this is not where I want to be, and it wasn't good, right? It was just it was not a good relationship, and I felt like I was being groomed, right, to be like the trophy girlfriend or like just to look good. And so I remember that day where after I was 23, about to be 23 at that time, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm done with this lifestyle, trying to live an expensive lifestyle that we don't really have, trying to show. And it was like weird in our culture in the sales that we're at, where like I was always in a bikini. Always was just, like sell the vitamins, wear a bikini, right? Or like sell the vitamins, show a little bit more, right? And it was just what I didn't want to do anymore, right? And I already just, in my mind, I thought that was normal. And so afterwards, when I was like, okay, I'm done, I remember getting a garbage bag, and I had 5 minutes. I just grabbed whatever I had, and then I put it in there, and I just walked out. I didn't even know where I was going. I was just like, I'm just going to walk out, leave everything behind, because I didn't want anything to do with my old lifestyle, and I was just walking. I remember walking to my mom's place, old, small little apartment. We haven't spoken really within that time frame that I was with that gentleman. And I just remember sleeping on the ground. She didn't say anything. She just let me, and I just slept there.
You just went back in?
And I just went back in.
She was still in the same place?
Same place. I already knew she wouldn't move. She's been there my whole life, right? Wow. And when I was sitting there, I was like, okay, there has to be something better. So then all of a sudden, I was still in sales. We're doing it together. And in my mind, I can't be successful without him. Yeah. I can't be successful without the people in my life. So I'm like, let me try to do it by myself. Maybe I can do it on my own. And so one girl on Instagram, she DMs me and said, hey, can you do a health presentation at my church? That's how I end up in the church. Okay. And I was like, health presentation? Sure, yeah, I can do health presentation. She goes, no, yeah, there'll be like 30 people. I go there was 3. Yeah. And I was like, okay, there's 3. And
I mean, she wasn't lying. That is church numbers.
That is church numbers.
She counted fingers.
Hey, she counted fingers, right?
She didn't lie. She just didn't tell you how the church counts.
Yes.
They count by fingers.
Oh, okay, got funny, it. Bro. That's and good. Yes, I go and I do this health presentation, and they're older. 2 fell asleep on me. And one was there, and she was the sweetest lady, right? I loved her. And I remember when I was sitting there, I just felt peace. It was small Pentecostal church, and I didn't really understand what was happening. But I was like, you know what? This lady is super nice. She hugged me. So, of course, in my background, you don't hug. You don't say I love you. You don't show affection. So she over here hugging me, kissing me, doing all this stuff. And I was just like, this lady's intense, but I like it. I like it because I felt like a big sis or mom for the first time.
And this was a black church?
Yes, black church, yes.
Because that's black church love right there.
That's black church love, my first experience. Yeah. And so I go there, I say, when do you guys have your little gatherings or your little get-togethers, right? I didn't even know about service. I was like, when do you guys do your little things? Yeah. And so she told me, I feel like the first week I got scared. Second week I came with a friend, and they, of course, speaking in tongues, all that stuff. Of course, at that time, and I'm the type of person, I don't get scared too quickly. I kind of want to know why you are doing that. Like, you might be wilding out, but why are you doing that, right? And so when they were speaking in tongues, my friend was like, oh, what's happening? I was like, I think it's Hebrew. I researched it. I think it's like the old language. I researched that thing, right?
They're speaking the Bible
language. I wasn't worried about that. And then, of course, there's a lot of praise dancing. I was just, that looks a lot of fun. I don't got rhythm, but like, let me look at that thing. And so I don't remember the message clearly, but I remember during the worship experience, I just started crying. I felt like my burdens, for the first time was able to let it go.
Yeah.
And then that made me want to come back. So then I kept coming every Sunday. Then they didn't really have Wednesday Bible studies. But when I started coming, bringing friends, they're like, okay, we're going to have Wednesday Bible study. So we had Wednesday Bible study. Then they have Sunday.
So you're starting all of these things.
Yes. I didn't even know. We're just bringing people because I was like, I don't want to go through this.
Speaking in Hebrew.
Even during praise dancing, I didn't even know. I was like, I need to practice. I was practicing at home because I was like,
hilarious.
The rhythm is super fast.
We
and
lift
like,
our heads.
yes, you're wearing, yes. And no, because they'll bring people up out of nowhere. So I'm there, and all of a sudden she's like, come on. And I was just like, oh no, if she brings me up, I ain't trying to embarrass myself.
It's mostly those praise breaks, though.
The praise breaks, boom, out of nowhere. And I was like, okay, let me get it down.
Offering,
right?
You don't have the right shoes on.
The clap.
Yes.
You need to have the right shoes.
I was like, let me get on beat so I can fit in.
For real.
So that was all happening. I was bringing people, went to Sunday school, right? And it was like, and I loved it. I just wanted to be in a safe place. So basically, it was my church the local church was my safe place. It's a little random Asian girl in this black church that is a majority is older. And they were wondering, well, why do you keep coming? And I remember there's women. Yes.
Well, let's go.
Multicultural Day was the best day.
That was the best day. Tell them, babe.
They loved me the best that they knew how.
Yeah.
And I remember my pastor was like, okay, we're going to have a multicultural day. I was like, okay. I look around. I was like, different shades of brown. But the culture is there.
That was it.
I literally looked. I was like, oh, okay. But he's like, hey, Tiffany, we have egg rolls and chow mein. I was like, oh, thank you.
Go.
Yes.
That's so racist.
You know.
For real. And she Vietnamese. She ain't Chinese. They got some.
I'm like, Asians.
Yeah, you need
like,
some
let's
up
go.
in there, okay? So
You feel me? They all dressed up in those little Bruce Lee outfits. That was dope, bro. The whole choir. The choir, they had the little shiny little
had little paper dragons everywhere.
I should pull that.
Hanging paper dragons from the ceiling.
I would have loved it, actually.
Their Bible was like folded like a crane and stuff. It was dope, bro. Let's open up the crane instead of the scroll. Like,
No.
it's dope. Let's go. I love it.
That's amazing.
That would have been amazing.
But they loved me.
Their heart,
and the heart is so pure.
It.
Yeah, it's like they want you to feel welcome.
They wanted me to feel welcome. They loved me. They brought me to all the conferences that I came.
Wow.
And from there, I was like,
were they denominational at all? Do you know?
Pentecostal.
Oh, Pentecostal.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yes.
Wow.
All I know.
Yeah.
So when I was going there, and I was literally, I remember hanging out with all the women. I was the youngest one there.
Yeah.
And it was a time I was like, okay, I love you ladies, but I need some friends my age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because I already just left that old life, and I was like, now I'm like in this bubble. And so, okay, let's do some things to kind of bring some youth in. We have an open mic night. So we decided to have an open mic night. Let's bring some people from the community, whatever. And there people are coming. Some people were cussing
Yep.
there.
We used to do those.
Whatever.
Yeah, people are coming in high or smoking right outside.
And
you're like,
talking about Jesus and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
bro,
yeah.
And then some were good too. And then
Yeah.
someone knew in our church knew him. So they invited him. Now he comes on the scene. So he shows up.
Yup.
But when he shows up,
El Fuego.
Fuego.
Came in hot.
He
salsa
came
coming
in
through.
hot.
No, he literally came in with a sweater with
yeah.
And he
cut-off
cuts
sleeves.
the sleeves off
yeah.
and the shorts off. I'm gonna show you the video later.
I have to
and
see
they-
this.
I have to show you the video
And they
later.
welcomed Fuego with chips and salsa.
Yeah.
Multicultural.
Yes. So when I see him, and I was like, who is this guy trying to be cool? Like,
Real.
trying
Yeah.
to show his muscles clearly.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
his knees, whatever he was doing. There was lotion up.
I had that
You
nice
definitely don't
lotion
show
on,
knees
bro.
in a Pentecostal church.
I know. I
You do
honestly
not
showed
do that.
I wanted her to
Yeah.
see I'll be praying. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like,
so-
see the knees.
But they weren't ashy, so you probably weren't praying. So then,
Listen.
yeah, he shows up, and then I'm like, okay, let me just listen. But he opens up with a spoken word of his testimony. So it's a spoken
Wow.
word of his
Yeah.
testimony. And I was like, oh, okay, this is different. And then he raps. This is the first time ever in my life that I heard Christian rap.
Yeah.
So like I've never heard it before. So when he's like rapping, I'm listening to the lyrics,
great.
and I'm like, oh, it's biblically sound. Like it's actually really good. So. My professional self.
Yeah.
Okay. Even though I was just this guy, he's doing too
Professional.
much. So at the end, I was just thanking everybody, and then I get his contact, his
You're
Instagram.
like, he needs vitamins.
He needs vitamins. No,
She thought I was taking
I did.
vitamins when she
I
saw the
was like,
swolls.
"What's up?"
She was like, this brother taking
no.
vitamins.
So I just get his Instagram, just hey, and I just posted like, hey, if you guys want to listen to Christian rap, like, said my circle was so small, and I was like,
Yeah.
hey, listen to this, whatever, and it was just very professional.
Yep.
And then from there, at that time, I thought my faith was based off works. Because I'm like, I need to work off my sin off, right? Because I was just like, I got a lot of sin. So, I mean, I got to like outreach, exercise, do all of it. So I was
give God my every day.
Every day.
Yes.
So any opportunity I had, I was serving. I was doing all sorts of outreaches, making stuff up. And then he comes to one of them. He's like, hey, can I bring my youth kids? Yeah. And I was just like, youth kids, what is that? So I go on his page. His page literally was just a bunch of children. So I was like,
she always says that.
It is.
Like little kids and I'm holding babies or something. It was like youth.
It was youth.
It was a youth
ministry.
Just out at the park.
It wasn't like a little kid. Like I'm just holding babies.
Pat him on the head.
Yeah, like, is this your kid?
Yeah, no, it was his kids. It was the youth. It was teenagers.
I wasn't smelling kids' hair and stuff like that.
I was like, is he a pedophile? Or like, I don't really know what you mean by that, right? And so then I say, yeah, sure, bring the youth kids. So he brings a bus full of kids to San Jose from Oakland, right? Yeah. And so we're here, and then we're playing, and we're just playing basketball. And he was very, like, professional. Yeah. He was very like, hey, sis. Yeah. The more you call me sis, I'm like, oh, okay, there's no attraction, so we're good. We're safe here, right?
Undercover. That's cold.
Yeah, hey, sis. And we're far apart. We were playing basketball on other ends. And then out of nowhere, in front of everybody, it's probably like 40 people, he goes, so, Tiffany, what's your testimony? Oh. I'm 3 months saved at that time, like 3 months going into the church, and I was like, testimony in my mind. I'm like, what's that?
This is 2 days after in Multicultural.
Yes, right. And so I'm like, I was like, oh, what is that? And then he goes, oh, it's your story. What is your story? How did you meet Jesus? So I share with him a little bit of mine and my background, and then how I met Christ. And at that time, it was still very blurry. I was fumbling through my first time sharing a testimony, and then he shares me everything that he shared, and then I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm pretty good then. I'm pretty good. Oh, okay.
There are people out there like me.
And I was like, I don't got to work off that much sin. I think I'm pretty good. So
you got a lot more sweating to do.
You have more sweating. I think I'm good.
You may need these.
You need some vitamins.
So I got some chow mein.
For real.
So then we're good. And so then now the dating process happens, right? And he asked me one day. In my mind, I'm like, this is the first time in my life since I was 6 years old that I'm single. No men, no nothing, no anything. So I was like, I'm pretty good. 3 months, I felt like I was in freedom. Yeah. I loved it. And so when he asked me out, I was like, okay, let me just go on one date, breakfast in the daytime, 30 minutes, right? Yeah. And so that's all that it took for me to know that he was different. I didn't think that I was like, oh, I'm going to date this guy, but I'm like, I'm just going to meet him one time. And then he was very persistent with the second date. After the second date, he's talking about marriage, he's talking about everything. I'm like, wow, these Christian guys move fast. And I'm not ready for this.
Listen, the Lord's coming back, so I got
I was like, no, I'm
coming
cool.
back.
But as I'm listening to him speak and love the word, like, I'm like, wow, he really knows his word. Yeah. I was like, oh, no, I don't want to date him. I don't want to date him.
And at this point, you're safe for how long? When
12.
When you meet
12
Tiffany?
12 years.
12 years.
3 months, 12 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then I was just like, this is too much. Yeah. And so I say no. And then every time he's like, every date, what I loved was an outreach. Every date was a Bible study. Every date was bringing me closer to Christ. Yeah. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm growing in my faith whenever I'm with. That's where I was so attracted to him, because I'm growing my faith literally with him every time. I remember we'd be praying at night, and he'd be like, okay, but he'd pray, and then he's like, okay, your turn to pray. I just hang up the phone. I'm like, nah, I'm good. And then I would Google prayers. Yeah. I Googled them up, and so I had them ready. So the next time he goes, you ready to pray? I'm ready.
Yeah. Our Father who art in heaven.
She was going in.
I was going in. He's like,
She's reading Joyce Meyer's prayer.
She was saying, my battlefield and my mind free, bro.
Yes.
She was quoting Lisa Bevere.
I was doing that, and then I was like, okay. And then he's like, that's how I get down. That's how I do.
I need a woman to cover me in prayer.
Siri says, what was that?
Yes. And then every time.
All right, everybody, welcome to our advertisement.
Yeah.
So you're watching our episode. We did a short break.
Yep.
What do we got a little break for, Ashley?
Oh, something really, really exciting. That when you came home and told me about the news, I was overjoyed, and I hope you had 30 pieces, but you only had one, but it's okay. Yeah, we are going to be talking about our new partnership.
Yes.
With an amazing jeweler.
Yes. So we have big news. We've teamed up with the exceptional jeweler, Aaron Barnett, to bring you a unique jewelry experience, from precious metals to custom creations. Aaron has it all, whether you're treating yourself or surprising a loved one. So it could be for you or someone you love, okay? mother, grandmother, sibling, spouse, a loved one. His jewelry is a testament to cherished moments. As part of our community, you get special discounts and a chance to visit his private showroom in Los Angeles. So for anniversaries, birthdays, or just because, discover Aaron's jewelry in our show notes. Elevate your relationships with exquisite pieces from our partner, Aaron Barnett. It's a great relationship that we have because now we can offer great discounts to our Beyond I Do community to hook them up. And so you visit, like we said, visit the show notes, and let's get back into the show.
Every time we dated, I broke up with him like every single month for 9 months, right? And it was not because of him. It was like I felt so unworthy every time I grew closer to Christ. It was all my shame. And I remember I didn't surrender at all, right? I surrendered a little bit. And in the process of us dating, I was still getting out of my old life. Remember, I'm used to these guys being in my life. And so as we're dating, there was a time where I end up being pregnant. So I get pregnant, not with him, of course, but not by him. Yeah. But as we're dating, I'm living this secret life, and I'm trying to get rid of it, but it was my safety. Yeah. And when I end up pregnant, I was like, okay. It was like the Lord was letting me know, like, when you're going to stop messing around? Yeah. When are you going to take this serious? Yeah. And I end up pregnant, and I remember that moment, man, I don't know what to do. And I can't tell nobody. So then I end up getting an abortion by myself, and it was the most horrible visit I've ever done, because they'll show me like, hey, do you want to see the sonogram? I'm like, no, I don't want to see anything. I don't want to do anything. And that was that moment where I was like, how did I get here? Like, I had this beautiful, wonderful man of God, and I show up, I'm pregnant, and I have this abortion. I'm doing all this in secret. And then I'm like, it was so heavy that I had to tell him. I'm like, I had to tell him. And when I tell him this last time, he's going to break up with me, and it's going to be done. So I was self-sabotaging. Yeah. Because it was so good. Like, this life that God is promising me, I don't deserve it. You don't know what I've done. Like, in my mind, I'm like, God, you don't know what I've done. You don't know who I am. He's like, I know. Right? But he never made me feel ashamed. So when I show up and I tell him, and I was like, this is it. He's never want to be with me again. And we actually we broke up for this last time. And at that time, for 1 month, I was like, that was my full surrender. Mm-hmm. Like, after that moment, I broke with him. I'm like, this is my chance to start over again. I was serving the Lord, but I remember
not thinking you were getting back with him.
No, it was like, okay, this is it. I broke his heart like 8 times. Yeah. Come on now. And then this is the last time. I'm like, there's no way he wants me back ever. Yeah. And so now I'm like 1 month just really just being with the Lord for the first time. And I'm like, Lord, even if you don't bring him back, I'm good. Like, I just want to be yours. Whatever that you want me to do, I'm going to say yes. Yeah. And that was my full surrenders after that moment. And then, of course, the Lord, we had a watch night party. I don't know, it was like a New Year's watch night party. Okay. And so we had a meeting, and one of the guys was like, hey, we want to have a performance. You should contact your Fuego friend.
Your Fuego friend.
And I was like, and remember, and when we're dating, I'm keeping him in secret. I'm always used in secret. No one knew that we're dating. He was so proud of us. He posted a picture. I'm going to take that picture down. Yeah. I don't want nobody to know, right? And so I'm living in secret. And so when they didn't even know we were dating, he's like, oh, that Fuego guy. And I was like, no, I think men should contact men. I don't want to be the one to talk to him, right? And so, of course, they contact him. He comes. So I know that he's coming. Yeah. I know that he's coming, and I'm like, oh, man, okay, he's going to be coming. He shows up with the shoes I bought him before, right? Number one. I'm just like, why are you wearing the shoes I brought you?
You knew what you was doing. You knew what you was doing.
Yeah, he knew. I was just like,
you like my shoes?
Yeah. We didn't talk. And I remember he was coming up, and I was like, the Lord was like, you need to repent to him, to me, but then now you need to ask him for forgiveness. Yeah. And then so we talk, and then that moment, and I'm letting him know again, like, he knows what happened. And he said, well, did you ask God for forgiveness? I'm like, I did. He's like, did you forgive yourself? I'm like, I don't know, right? And then he's like, well, I love you, and I still want you to be my wife. That was my moment that I felt God's mercy and grace for the first time ever. Because it was like, I got whole pregnant with somebody else and had an abortion. And there's no way you're going to want me. I'm so dirty. I'm so horrible. But for him, he was like, I see you worthy still. I see you amazing. And prior to him, I never felt like I could be a wife or a mom because number one, I can't be a wife. I'm always a side chick. Like I'm not worthy to be anybody's wife. And number two, I'm not going to have children because I was a homeless kid. So I was like, I don't want my children to be raised by someone like me. Yeah. And so when he said that, literally, I was like, okay. And it was like, that's all I needed to know is that he forgave me. Everything was clean. It was my first time that I'm seeing God's mercy and grace upon my life. Yep. A month later, we get married. Oh my God. Yeah, I know. It was like, that's why he was like, are you ready? He wants to get married tomorrow, right? I was like, we don't want to go through counseling. We don't want to go through that, right? And he's like, so we did premarital counseling. And then a month later, we get married. And then in one day, immediately, he became youth pastor. Yeah. Like immediately. So it was like in one day, I became a mom of two beautiful boys, right? I became a pastor's wife in youth ministry, and then I left. So I quit everything that I did, and I moved to Oakland. In San Jose, I moved to Oakland. So I literally picked up my cross and just went because of that forgiveness. And when I didn't realize that then, but when I went, I just tried to be the perfect everything at that moment. Because I was like, okay, these boys, they don't have their mom in their life. How do I be a mom, right? And I was 23 at that time, right? And then so I was trying to do the perfect everything, and that I exhausted myself.
Yeah, she did way too much. That was not my expectation.
I was trying to do
that of her.
I was trying to cook. I was trying to clean. I was trying to do everything, and then I was like, when he told me his expectations,
I said, "Listen, I just want you to love God and don't leave. That's it. Like it's simple, bro. Like love the Lord and don't leave. All right, be good.
Wow. But so then that's where our journey started. Is like I was thinking. 1 year prior, I was literally living in the world, wilding out, and then a month later, I'm wife, I'm mom, I'm pastor, I'm youth ministry. I don't even know anything of the word, and that's what got me scared. Is in the beginning, is I was like, okay, this is your thing, and I'm here to support you. I really am because I felt so unworthy to like.
Yeah, feel like you have any value to add to it. It's like he got the value. He got the years in this. He's got.
I'm just here to love him and to be there. But then I start to fall in love when I start to hear the stories of these teenage girls. Right, I think about my teenage self, and I remember meeting some girls, hearing their stories. I start to sob and cry. I'm like, Lord, this is. Are you sure me? He's like, yes, I put you here specifically for these girls. And that's when I start to fall in love with just ministering to the young girls. And then we got to do it together as a family. We're a blended family. So then when I started to, the pastors of the church that we were at, the women were not as visible. Like there were 7 pastors on staff, and all women were not visible. And so it was just me, and I was like, I just need help. I was like, I'm struggling, like I don't know how to do this, and I just want some help, and I didn't really have it. And so we started to look elsewhere and trying to like, is there any other woman out there? I want to make a friend. Right? I think I'm pretty cool, right? And so then that's when we started to like meet other people outside of our church a little bit. It was not too much because it was more like you have to stay within our crew. It was like this is our church. Don't go outside of that.
I know that type of culture.
Well, Fuego, I want to ask you this then, because of the 9 months back and forth. What did that look like in your spiritual walk? And then in your find of a wife? If you saw it, did you notice it in Tiffany right away? Did God give you a word? Did he tell you it was Tiffany in order to stick out the 9 months of the back and forth? Because I know some men would be like, all right, girl.
Deuces, right? I would say at first, when I first met her, so my ex was Vietnamese. So when I saw her the first time, I said, the devil is a lie. Like, I'm not going to be getting with you, girl. Get behind me, Satan kind of deal, right? And I was like, nah. But then, like, I just started to see her heart for people. And then when I got to know her, I started to see her story, and I realized, like, she has a burden for people. Like, there was a time where when we were dating, we were supposed to go to, like, a movie, and then something happened where the movie, I bought the wrong timing or whatever. So I was like, hey, let's do something. So we went to the dollar store, and we got all this stuff and filled bags up, and we went to go, like, serve the homeless, right? We were just giving them raincoats and all that stuff. And then we literally sat down with, like, homeless people, and we prayed with them, heard their story. And I saw her, like, leaning in and asking questions and really praying for people. And I was just like, man, like, I could see myself doing ministry with somebody who wants to do ministry and who wants to serve God. So, like, those things intrigued me. And so that's really where, like, I felt like I got to see, like, her purpose while I was with her, just dating her. And so that's really what kind of kept me like solid. And then I would say even from the past relationship of like just having like just saying 10 toes down of saying, hey, I was not faithful. I was not a good husband when I was not a believer. Like, and then in my waiting period of that 3 years, I felt like God really just gave me a real big burden for lost and hurting and broken people. And then when I met Tiffany, I was like, man, like, Lord, I believe that you called her. She's wrestling right now because she's new in the faith. And so I'm just going to stay put, like, because I really do love this woman of God. And so let me know how I can be a part of what you're doing. Yeah. And so all I did was remain faithful to the call, kept serving the youth and working at the hospital as well. And then I'd be praying for her. I wouldn't call, do a text, but I'd be praying for her. And so that's really just how I believe my heart was just getting prepared for it. And then they send me an email saying, hey, we want you to come to this, to rap at her church. And I was like, oh, snap. And I said, okay, I have these sons of mine who I tell them to pray for their mom, right? Because even if she's not saved, we want her to one day be saved. And I said, and we don't dishonor your mom. We don't do nothing like that. Don't ever get out of pocket with your mom. And I said, and now we got this a woman that I want to pursue. And I said, listen, how could I treat her while I'm in her presence? How my sons will look at a man, how he'll treat somebody who might have wronged them. Because like they're asking me, hey, Dad, where's Tiffany?
That was the word.
Yeah.
You know, where's Tiffany?
My heart was aching when I did that. I was like, man, I left the boys. Like, they saw me. And, like, that's why that's why I broke up a lot of times, too. Is the moment I remember when we start dating and then you brought the boys in. Yeah. It was like, first it was just us, and he just wanted to make sure, like, okay, this is who I want to bring around my sons. And then when I met the boys, I fell in love with them, but it was so scary because I'm like, I don't think I can be a mom.
Because I had them kind of date her too, in the sense where they would one would come with a flower, and the other one would open the door for her.
Like I can say he has raised amazing like men of God. Even at a young, I remember when remember how I didn't know, I was Googling prayers. We're having Bible studies, they teaching me the Bible. And that's why I got so scared. I'm like, I don't even know how to read the Bible. I don't know how to pray for them. How can I cook? I've never done this before. So that's why I kept breaking up. Because I'm like, there's no way. This is a great family and I'm going to ruin it.
I'm like, hey, just love God.
Don't leave. Don't leave.
That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
And you guys have been married for how long now?
Almost 8 years.
Yes,
almost 8 years.
In August will be
incredible.
8 years. Yep.
Yeah.
We got a beautiful baby girl named Harper. She's 5 now.
Wow.
And so,
that's amazing.
So we struggled even having a baby girl.
The boys are watching her right now?
Yes, they're watching her. I was like,
gosh.
you can't go to work, you don't do nothing, take care of the baby. Right now, yes.
That's nice having kids with that kind of spread.
For real.
You know?
Right?
Yeah. They can help with Harper. They're old enough to help with that.
But even in our first year of marriage, I actually ran away 3 times.
Yeah. Wow.
In the first 6 months. Right? Remember, I'm used to just dipping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I shared that part.
You did not tell me that part, girl.
Yeah.
Runaway bride.
I ran away.
She was.
Yeah, it was
Running
amazing.
Man. She was doing the Running Man challenge.
No, it was amazing. No, because it was
deeper.
amazing marriage, but again, it was like in the midst of it, I'm like, because once we got married, the next day, I just ran away first back to San Jose.
Yeah,
right.
And I came and got her.
He did, but I'm saying,
get in the car.
Second time.
Did you have a good run? Come back in the car.
Second time she went to Fremont.
Yeah, second time I went to Fremont. So it was because the first day of marriage, the second day was the first day of school for the boys.
Yeah.
Right. So no honeymoon. It was just boop boop, straight into life, straight into ministry. It was just like fast.
Baptism.
And so the first time I ran back home. I ran to my mama.
Yeah.
I was just like, and then I was like, don't let him in, close the door or whatever. And then, he's like, no, I'm coming to go get you, right? And so he literally grabs me, picked me up, and he said, you're coming home. I was like, no, I don't want to come home. He's like, you're coming home,
You're
right?
coming home, girl.
And I was like, no, I can't. And so I bring him home, and I was like, okay. And then I think a few months later,
what was your conversation? What was your just when you got home?
It was kind of quiet.
It was quiet.
But but was there an expression of why you did it?
Eventually I did. So first I'm quiet. He's a runner.
Yeah,
he's a pursuer.
Same.
Yeah.
So when there's challenges,
Yes.
I dip. And so I'm used to doing that, and so when we came, it was quiet. And then I just let him know. I'm like, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I think you need to marry someone else, right? I think you literally need to marry someone else because I can't do this. Yeah. And then, of course, he just lavished me with the word and reminded me, like, I married you. Like, you are the one that I choose. I'm not trying to choose nobody else. Yeah. And said, okay. And then a few months later, and I think it was a lot of trauma too with my upbringing. Yeah. So when he'll touch me a certain way, like on my shoulder, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fight him, right? And so the first year was really going through our traumas, right? And so like he'll say a certain word, and in my mind, I'm like, he's my abuser.
Yeah.
So the abuser keeps coming up. So I'm bleeding over someone that didn't even cut me.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay. And so I ran away to Fremont. I didn't go all the way home because I didn't want nobody to know. I just wanted to just, but it was literally, I just probably needed time. Now we learn. I'm like, hun, I need 5 minutes. I need 10 minutes. But then I ran to Fremont. He went to go get me. The second time, because we lived in Oakland, so our backyard is like a park. Right, Ira Jenkins. And so I just went to the backyard. So I like jumped over the fence. Didn't want him to know. I'm just sitting there. And then he's like, where are you? I saw a yellow car leave. Where'd you go? I was like, I didn't say nothing. And then when I saw the car, I literally was watching him like go and to wherever direction.
The park.
I was like, girl, where you at? I'm over here putting the APB out.
Yeah, he went out. And then I was like, the Holy Spirit was like, you need to let him know that you in the backyard. So I called him. I'm like, I'm here.
Yeah.
And with the attitude, then that was I never left.
Yeah,
it's been 8 years. I haven't left yet, so I'm good. Right? And then we had a conversation again. And I said, okay, I think I can do this. He recognized the one thing he's really good at is celebrating me.
Yeah.
Right. And he was like, hey, the first time you went to San Jose, second time you went to Fremont, but look, you're getting closer to me. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm doing better. And so I think
celebrate what you want repeated, right?
Yes. And so I think by him celebrating, I'm not used to celebration. I'm not used to the love, the affection.
Or a birthday.
And that's why we church planted. Yeah. It's because we literally want to walk with people that were like us.
Yeah.
Where if you run away, I'm like, hey, you didn't run away far away, right? Celebrating. I was like, hey, you're okay, right? Yeah. And you didn't cuss this time. You cussed 5 times. Maybe it's less than the other time. So I think that's where our journey started. And I was like, okay. Then when we went to youth ministry together, and then the boys, we had a conversation even with the boys, and they just reminded me, like, I think my thing was like, you're gonna love your boys first, then me.
Nah.
Because they came first, right? They came before me. So I was like, you're gonna. So, he's always told me that's not true. But I'm like, you saying that, but you're going to choose them before me. But time and time again, he's like, yeah, let the boys go. Like, they're going to be okay. I'm like, oh, they need some food. I'm like, they can cook something on their own.
They're good.
They're okay. Let's go. Right? And so he's shown me that, like, you are my priority. Earthly, so right? And that's what allowed me to know, like, this man is not... Like, literally, that's why he's part of my testimony, is that I got to see the relentless love of God through my husband. Yeah. Like, I got to see it time and time again.
Yeah, that's awesome. Incredible.
That's awesome.
I mean, I commend you guys. Such a credible story, and I, compliment you both for Fuego, for how you have exhibited the scriptures that a man must wash his wife with the water of the word. I mean, that cannot be more of a beautiful picture of what it looks like for a man to love his wife. Even for the fact that before she was your wife, you had felt like the Lord commanded you, almost like Joseph. You know, Joseph was only betrothed to Mary. He wasn't married her, but he committed to that word that God gave, and that verbal commitment he made to Mary. Yeah, that when he wanted to divorce in private, the Lord was like, "No, you're not going to do that because you made a commitment, and I have a plan." And then for you, Tiffany, how much you have. There's so many people. We do all now have been doing ministry a long time. We know how many people do give up when the going gets hard, and how many people. And it's not that they want to give themselves to their sinful desires. It's the fact that they don't view themselves worthy of God's grace. That's right. And receive it. So they just keep doubling down because they think that's all they're good enough for. And the way that you've received and accepted God's grace, that signify that you've come into a blended family. Yes. Loved your husband, loved his children, love what God is doing. And then now on top of that, like, you've decided to love others by, I don't think people realize how hard a church planner life is. Yes. Yeah, they don't, bro. No one didn't, no one didn't, you guys a big old blank check or anything like that. I mean, you've had small, moments that others have sowed in you, but you guys have pave this by yourself. Why? Because it's a burden. It's a burden. And so in a world today that goes, oh, people go into ministry because they just want blah, 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 blah. You look at your guys' who you've been like grinding and meeting why? Just because you want to love people that have your guys' story. Yeah. And the way that you've stepped into that as a woman of God to not just say like, oh yeah, this is my husband's call. It's like, no, this is our call that God has called us to. It's just so inspiring. And I think so many people would listen to this who think that maybe they've gone through some tough things. They can either see themselves in you guys or in the reality, like when you heard Fuego's testimony, you're like, oh, I guess I'm not all that bad. You know,
Right.
It's like actually like, oh, wow.
That's what I literally told them at dinner. I was like, you guys keep the faith because, man, on my things, crying over spilt milk.
Yeah,
Come on.
Ashley was trash when we were dating for many reasons, and I really did had to love her through some things, but she got caught lying quite a few times.
Yes. Yeah.
But like you, it was really because she was trying to present herself as perfect, thinking that's what I was looking for. So Ashley would be like, yeah, I've never cheated on anyone. Yeah, I've never smoked weed. Yeah, I've never. And then like month 3, you know, she's like, I used to smoke every weekend. I'm like,
what?
When we first started dating, you said you never touched me. Oh, you know.
I did?
Did
like,
I?
Yeah. And then, I hooked up with a guy a couple of weeks before I met you. You're like, wait, what? Like, hold on. You told me that.
You told me that.
You were like single for 2 years before we met. You know, like, hold on, you know. But it's like, it's just something about being that side that
past is blurred.
We don't know about that anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't talk about it.
Exactly. So, you know, next time you guys are going to be in town, Lord willing, often, because we love you guys and we're so thankful that we have connected over now the years, but really over the past couple of weeks in a deeper way. So,
for real.
Till part 2 next time.
Yes.
That'd be dope.
We go we'll dig deeper. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's past an hour.
That's what we talking
Oh
about.
yeah, it's past an hour.
No,
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, okay, let me write my book.
Yeah. No, it should be. It really should be a book that would be. I would bless so many people if you guys stepped in that. In time, you guys got a lot on your plate,
right?
Yeah, but when it comes, it'll be something beautiful, and we'll happily share it with all of our people about it. It's absolutely incredible. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in to Beyond I Do. Thank you to our friends being here. Go follow Encore Church, Alameda, outside of Oakland, on a little island outside of Oakland. And we're thankful to Fuego and Tiffany for joining us.
That's right.
Bye, guys.
See you guys next time.